For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show. Recap of the 2024 Europe adventure.
Yep.
The Europe quest. I'm here with Jack.
Yep.
We lasted the April Australia
Yep.
recap, which I think worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
This was my 3rd Europe trip, my most comprehensive Europe trip, and
my first for me.
First time for you, and I think it went extraordinarily well.
Yeah, no, it was great. We got good weather. We only got quote unquote rained out once, and we still got to see some stuff. So
yeah, absolutely killer.
Yeah.
So
especially in a place like Europe where it rains a lot.
Well, it rains a lot, and then we covered so many different climates.
Yeah,
and we'll explain which we did. But from anywhere from Iceland to Spain, those are 2 totally different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and I think I told you this. I was looking at how different, how much further up Iceland is compared to Spain. Yeah. It's like Florida to Alberta, like the distance between those 2.
It's a lot.
It's a big place.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's way up there.
I think if it was like couple hundred miles closer to the North Pole, it'd be nothing but ice.
Yeah. Well, Greenland right next door is nothing but ice.
Yeah, the top half of it.
Yeah.
Well, most of it.
Almost
actually.
all of it.
Yeah, almost all of it.
Yeah, they said I think the longest road in Greenland is
7 kilometers.
7 kilometers.
And I might have saw it on the plane when we flew over Greenland, because we were flying over Greenland, and I double checked on the map on the plane screen, and I was looking down, and I saw 4 houses and a road. And it might have been the road.
I don't think there's a whole lot going on in Greenland. I didn't know Denmark still technically owns Greenland too.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of things about Europe until I got over there.
I didn't. Yeah.
A lot of geography lessons.
So the mission began. I went to Minnesota before. Did a side quest in Minnesota, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But the mission began in Iceland. So TJ got in a little earlier than we did. He slept over that night, but then the both of us got in that morning. So we flew overnight.
Yep.
Got in and then went right to work.
Yep.
Which is not the first time I've done that. It's a little exhausting, but it just makes the most sense for the sake of time. So we got in Thursday morning. The project that I'd been watching for since December was the eruption. And the pictures and videos, probably you've probably seen them at this point, especially when it first started happening, were remarkable, because you have this dramatic volcano eruption, like out of a comic book.
Yeah.
Lava spewing everywhere. And it's threatening a geothermal power plant and an entire town. So what they do is they start building these enormous earthen berms.
Yeah.
Like flood barriers, but to control these lava flows. And unfortunately, the eruption stopped a week before. It goes on and off, and so you can't really time it. It stopped a week before we got there. The lava almost went over the berm we were looking at. And so the project we were on, it was with Istak, which is the big contractor in Iceland. And they were raising that berm another 5 or 10 meters.
Yeah.
Another 5 meters when we were there.
Something like that, yeah.
To prepare for the next eruption that's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, that could happen at any time.
That could happen at any time. I was looking it up this morning, and that's what the scientists say. It's just it's inevitable at this point.
Yeah.
It was pretty surreal.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to see. Just to see the D11s, and they even had a Lee Bear dozer out there.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, both of our first time actually seeing one run.
Yep, first time.
And yeah, and like, when you look at it from afar, or if you don't really know a whole lot of what's going on, like, it looks like just a normal earth moving project. And then, like, I had to like remind myself a couple times, like, we're literally moving lava rock right now.
Yeah. Well, so all that exists in Iceland is lava rock.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that was insane when I realized what I realized after we landed was, like, looking around, like, this is all just lava rock.
Yeah, it's all just from eruptions in the past.
Yeah.
And so they had a D11, a Lee Bear 776 ripping and pushing material into piles, old lava flow, into piles. Then a Doosan, like 800 or 80 ton excavator,
80-90 maybe,
80-90, and then a Cat 7 374 loading articulated trucks.
Yeah,
the articulated trucks would drive to the top of this barrier that they had already built. I think it was at least 20 meters high.
Yeah,
it was a monster wall.
Yeah,
and it's a monster on one side, but then the lava flows even with it on the other side.
Yeah, almost even.
Which is pretty surreal. And then they had a Komatsu 375 up top placing the material.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like, one of the cooler things from that visiting that site was with the you could see in certain spots, you could see it visually with your eyes, but especially when you use the zoom lens on the drone, the compression of the image you could see the heat waves just everywhere coming off of the whole ground.
Yeah. It was I forgot. I should have looked it up before this, but it was tens of millions of cubic meters of lava.
Yeah,
that's poured out of this volcano over the past 6 months.
Yeah,
and so and I asked them the schedule. So I was like, when do you stop building the lava barrier? And they're like, when the volcano stops erupting.
Exactly, which is never, not for a long time.
How do you write that into a contract?
Yeah. And the other thing that was really cool about that is, like, that was my first time ever being somewhere that even, like, has volcanoes.
Yeah.
And, like, I think myself and most people, when they picture volcanoes, they picture like what you saw in 5th grade science textbook, where it's like a mountain with a hole in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But it's not really. They can kind of come up from anywhere. Like, yeah, there's still giant big ones, but, like, there's a lot that are just, that kind of seep out of the ground almost.
Well, and even we went to the town, which is now evacuated.
Yeah.
So it's this empty town, which is pretty eerie.
Yeah.
And there were just giant cracks in the earth everywhere, because it's literally moving the earth underneath.
It's weird.
And it's just like the earth just cracked open here and just started spewing lava.
Yeah.
It's so...
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You're just going to go get some bulldozers and start building a barrier.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I think that was a core memory. Probably one of the most unique projects I'll ever see in my life.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And then after that, we got in the car and drove 6 hours. So I talked to them about what else they had in Iceland, and they said, we have this road project, but it's a long way. It's a long drive. It's like a 6-hour drive. But I told them, hey, 6-hour drive in Iceland, I'm fine with that. Like, yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I'll and I'm glad we did it, because we wouldn't have seen if we had just stayed in Reykjavik.
We wouldn't have seen anything.
We wouldn't have seen anything. And so we drove all the way down the southern coast of Iceland to the very southeastern corner of the country, of the island, to nearby to a town that was called Hoffen, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
To a road project. So we go there, and then we stay that night at a temporary camp. They built this temporary camp out of like these different housing units that stack on top of each other like Legos. So it was 2 floors, I think it was.
Yeah.
But they just built this camp out of these boxes that they can ship anywhere in the world. So they just shipped them right there. They stack them on top of each other, and everybody has their own room, own shower. It was pretty comfortable.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Jack's only problem, though, with Iceland was that it never gets dark in the summer.
Yeah. So, like you said earlier, like, we had an overnight flight. Didn't feel like an overnight flight because we basically flew into the daylight the whole time.
Yeah.
And then Yeah. Well, see, the tough thing is that the camp wasn't so bad because that was the day where we flew in after, well, not a crazy long flight. It's like from Nashville, it's like hour and a half to Chicago and then 5.5 to Iceland. So
Yeah, it's not so bad.
7.5, 8 hours at most. And then you get there, and then we went to the lava site right away, did work, and then drove 6 hours. So the first night I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And they had good curtains on the window, so I passed out.
They did have good
But
curtains.
at the Airbnb in Reykjavik, I struggled immensely because they had the bedrooms was upstairs, and they had skylight as the only window with no curtain. And I don't, maybe it's a thing because Europeans aren't near as fat as Americans, but the beds their version of a twin bed is like 8 inches wide.
It's small. Yeah, it's small, and then they don't have normal covers. They just have like a heavy blanket.
Yeah.
So there's no sheet on any of the beds. And so it's either, but then it's warm, so you have to. This was the conundrum I had the entire time.
Yeah.
I like it dark and cold when I sleep.
Exactly.
But if I want it cold, I need to have the window open for airflow.
Yeah.
But if I have the window open, it's not dark. But if I want it dark, then it's warm.
It was the entire trip.
Terrible cycle.
Yeah.
And I could not get it right. I just had my first 8-hour night, the last night, for the first time in a month. I haven't slept that bad in years and years and years and years.
Yeah, I'm pretty picky when it comes to sleeping conditions. Not like it has to be like nice, but just give me a little bit of air conditioning in a dark room and I'll sleep on the floor.
But like Iceland, it really didn't get dark.
No, it didn't. We had so after we did the lava and the road, we drove back to Reykjavik.
Yeah.
And we had just one day? 2 days?
2 nights.
Yeah. Yeah, we had 2 nights and we had one free day, and it was Friday. So me and TJ went out on Friday to check out some of the local bars. And man, we came back, we just lost track of time. Cause usually it's you go out and it's dark, it's pitch black outside and you're oh, what time is it? Oh, it's midnight. Probably time to go home the next hour. But it's we got there at 8 and then started hanging out, having a few beers, and then next thing you know, it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And the sun is still out. And I'm just oh my God, dude, this is terrible.
It's like the Las Vegas effect in the casino. You just have no concept of time.
It's like that, but everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go. The road project was pretty cool. There was this big river that fans out. And so the road goes, it's following the coast, and then it has to go up into the interior to where the river's a little bit more narrow to then cross it and come back down.
Yeah.
And instead of that, Istak, they're building a road basically straight across. So they've just built this land bridge across this really wide part of the river.
Yeah.
And then they're building 4 bridges to let the water flow underneath the road. And so we went out there. The earthwork wasn't going on when we were out there, but they were building the bridges, and just the whole thing was ridiculously beautiful.
Oh yeah, the whole country's a national park.
It's like Iceland. The whole place is a national park.
Yeah.
It gives that vibe. There's buses everywhere with tourists. There's people. There's just tourists everywhere. The whole thing is just tourism.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do if they couldn't have tourism. I think they would.
Well, I don't know
crumble.
what happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened in 2020 because the whole country is tourism.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. They probably struggled in 2020.
But in fairness, I understand why.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculously beautiful. Like the bridge project that we were shooting, I posted some pictures the other day. Giant glacier in the background.
Yep. And that's where the water's coming from, right?
That's where the water's coming from. Yeah, it's just melting off the glacier.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've shot with a glacier and a crane with a fucking glacier right in the background.
Yeah.
It's this is something else.
Yeah.
So I would say Iceland was a highlight of the trip.
Yeah,
I'm really happy we made that happen.
Yeah, that was a good way to start off.
So then from Iceland, we caught a flight to Zurich. And in Switzerland, we were scheduled to see Eberhard, one of my all-time favorite contractors.
Yeah.
So day one of Eberhard, we went and saw their basement digs, right? What else did we see? We saw 2 basements.
2 basements and that smaller demolition site.
Oh, smaller demolition site. So we saw the basement excavations. Their basements, they're not just basements, though. These are some of the most ridiculous excavations you'll see, because one of them was at a university, and they need these labs that have completely consistent temperature, no vibration, all year round. And so they have to bury them like, I don't know how far it was. Oh, way down.
Were they going deeper when we were there?
They were going
as
deeper.
Deep as they were going?
No, they were going even deeper.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was already like 20 meters.
Yeah, probably 20 meters, maybe 25 meters. So it was going to be at least 80 feet deep. I think the number was in my head. But the shoring is incredible. The structure's incredible. Yep. The first basement, they had a track loader at the bottom, an excavator digging, a track loader grabbing the material, and then putting it into this bucket that was then hooked to a Cinnabogan crane. Mm-hmm. The Cinnabogan crane would lift it out, and then it was a clamshell that would open up ahead of on top of the Eberhard trucks. Yeah. And then would just repeat a few times, I think 3 passes per truck.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe 2.
It's a big clamshell.
Giant clamshell. Yeah. And so when they're done, they'll just then probably, I think they said, use the Cinnabogan to lift the track loader and the excavator out. Yeah. And then there's your basement. They build the building within it. Yeah. The second basement we saw was at a hospital right near downtown Zurich. Yeah. And they had a 390. They had their 390 down in the hole with a hammer. Yep. But they could only hammer after 2 p.m., I think it was, for noise.
Yeah. So they have like 3-4 hours a day.
Yeah. They don't have very much. And they have to, it's all rock. They can't blast it. They can only hammer a few hours a day. Yeah. They also had a rock wheel too, but it's slow going on that one. Massive basement. Yeah. So that was cool. The weird thing about Switzerland is when they have an export over a certain cubic meter amount, they have to ship the dirt by rail. So all of the trucks we saw were then taking the dirt to a transfer station, essentially. Then Eberhard puts the dirt onto rail cars, which they own. Those rail cars then go to their quarry or their pits, and then they dump the dirt out of the rail cars. They put it on articulated trucks, and then they go place that material and backfill the pits. Yep. To eliminate truck traffic. Yeah. Just a Switzerland thing. That's so Switzerland.
Yeah. That was another really cool thing about this trip, is bouncing between the different countries and seeing how people do things differently.
It's all very different in Europe.
It's interesting and also sometimes amusing.
Yeah, it is. It is amusing. We finished that day at the museum, which is mind blowing. If you ever find yourself near Zurich, look up Eberhard's museum. It is the finest scale model collection I'll ever see in my life. One of the finest equipment museums I'll ever see in my life. Yeah. The detail that they've put into this place is it's just hard to explain. Yeah. So that was cool. Then the second day, we saw some demolition. That's what they're really known for, is their demolition work. And so we saw, what was the first one? We saw so much stuff.
Recycling plant.
The recycling plant. So they demolish these buildings and they pull out the big pieces of metal and the big pieces of concrete. Then they have this leftover pile of all kinds of stuff: rock, tile, or concrete, tile, glass, plastic, wood. And instead of sorting that on site, they throw it all in a truck and take it to this central facility that is one of the most state-of-the-art recycling plants in the world, I'm sure. Yeah. They dump it. The Cinnabogan grabs it, sorts out some of the bigger pieces, and then feeds the rest into this plant. Then this plant uses all of these robots to figure out what's not concrete and removes everything that's not concrete. Yep. All of it's recycled. The metal's recycled. The wood, plastic goes to be incinerated for power. And then the concrete is recycled as new concrete and as insulation that they're developing as well. Yeah, that's right. So Everything in Switzerland is recycled. And we say we recycle stuff in the United States, concrete. No. We crush it and we sometimes use it as road base if the DOT buys off on it.
Yeah.
Or fill holes with it.
Yeah.
No, they use it for new concrete. That's why they need it so clean and so precise, is because that's new concrete that will then go into all kinds of structures.
Yeah.
So we got to see that, which was very cool. And then we saw their really big demolition project with their 395 car dealership.
Yep.
We saw Yugo. It's just a blast watching a 395 munch through an enormous concrete structure.
Yeah, that was cool.
So that was a really nice time.
Yeah.
And then we had probably our best meal in Switzerland because we went and bought sausages and just grilled them on site.
Just grilled.
The food situation, I don't know. Switzerland's just not, I guess, known for its food. It's known for its mountains. It's known for money. It's known for chocolate, but it's not known for food.
Yeah. If you want to pay like $65 for a Olive Garden level meal, then go to Switzerland for one person. Make sure you get a water, because if you get a drink, I mean, the water's not free, but if you get anything other than a water, it'll be an extra $8.
Well, we weren't drinking at any meals.
No.
It would be three of us. We didn't order anything fancy.
Just entrees.
$200.
Yep.
$200 per dinner. It's insane
and
how
like,
expensive it is.
The meals I ordered the first night, I ordered penne pasta.
Yeah, you had pasta. TJ had a pizza.
Like
I had a chicken salad.
Yep. And then the second night, me and TJ had we tried these cordon bleus, which are absolutely just the worst thing. Probably the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life. And nothing against Switzerland or anything, but it's probably was just a bad restaurant, or maybe the chef was having a bad day. But man, and I forced myself to eat half of it because of how expensive it was.
Yeah, $50 or whatever it was. Yeah,
it was oh man.
Switzerland, though, awesome work. I think Switzerland is best in class when it comes to construction in the world. I want to go see Japan because I think Japan's on the Swiss level.
The Swiss know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. So then we went from Zurich to Munich by train, which was very nice.
Yep.
Traveling by train is so much better than air travel.
Crazy concept.
It's so much better. And I'm going to make a post about this, how I used to think America was the best, and then I've now seen infrastructure in other countries. Our infrastructure blows compared to most of the countries I go to. Most countries I go to have far better
especially when it comes to transportation.
Like now I'm driving around Nashville again, just depressed because I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but at least you're in an F-250.
At least I'm an F-250, but it's a joke. It's a joke.
Bad.
So we take the rail to Munich. We stay in Munich that night, and then we're with Zeppelin Cat for the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my friend Simon with Zeppelin to set us up with some customers. So that was the plan. We were going to go see customers. So the very first day we drove to two quarries.
Yep.
The first, I wish I remembered the name of. I don't speak German very well, and it's a very German name.
I don't.
Yeah. But they were amazingly accommodating.
Yeah.
We got to see a little baby blast.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get in their 992K. Beautiful. I think it was the first 992K in Germany. Saw them loading trucks. They had a giant piece of steel that they would pick up and use to smash giant rocks with.
Oh, yeah.
Great visit. So that was a really nice morning. And then we went to Lucas Glaser in the afternoon up in, I don't know, at this point we were probably 3-4 hours from Munich.
Yeah.
We're starting to move north.
Yeah.
West in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucas Glaser, this pit was pretty remarkable because they had these high walls that were 100 meters.
Yeah, insane.
Biggest high walls I've seen to quarry. And they can't, for obvious reasons, work underneath the high walls with manned equipment because if a rock, even a small rock, rolls off the top of that thing, it's flattening the cab, even a reinforced cab. So what they've done is they have a D6 and a 395 that are remote control that are operated from this very nice little command center in the actual quarry by two guys.
Yeah. And it's a nice command center.
Nicest command center I've been in
Like I
by a long
wanted
shot.
to sleep there.
It's dark and it's cold. It was the coldest room that we were in Europe.
And it's got like nice shag carpet.
Yeah, it has carpet. Yeah, you take your shoes off before you go in there.
Kitchen, fridge.
Because they're not barn animals. It had LED lighting, like mood lighting. You could change the color of. It was nice. It was really nice. But it was interesting because our drones were messing with the signal.
Yeah.
So every time we'd have a drone flying around, it would disconnect from the 395. And it took us a few times to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
But then once I realized that, then I realized when we were with Tees in Australia, the dozers kept disconnecting. And I'm almost positive it was also because of our drones.
Yeah. Probably. Most likely. But see, that one in Australia was, there wasn't really any good view from that other than with a drone because of where they were.
We had to use a drone. Yeah. I'm glad we used a drone, but they had problems the entire time we were there. It kept disconnecting.
Yeah.
And I got some really nice photos, but anyway, that was a really, really cool visit. First 395 remote control machine I've seen. It was actually the first time I've seen the remote control technology used in a real application. I've only seen it demonstrated in theory, so that was cool to actually see it in the real world. And then the guys operating it were very positive about it.
Yep.
So that was awesome. We stayed in this little town that night, and then the next day, what did we do the next day? We went to Frankfurt, and we went to the airport.
Yep.
So up until the day before, I wasn't sure if the airport was going to go through because they needed the approval, but they have built a new terminal at Frankfurt, one of the busiest airports in Europe, and the terminal is a slightly different grade than the existing taxiways. And so there is a company in there. What was that company's name? I should have done my homework before this. But there's a demolition company that's then demolishing the taxiway.
Yeah.
Because they have to raise the grade just a little bit so that planes can get from the existing runway to the new terminal without any dramas.
Yeah. It was.
You have a picture of the machine?
Yeah. Too blurry for me to see the name.
Anyway.
But yeah. Sorry. Thought I could pull that up real quick.
That's okay. But we saw, it was, what was it? It was also a 395, wasn't it? With a hammer. Was it? Yeah, it was 395. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 395 hammer.
Yep.
And it was so cool because you could throw a rock to the taxiway. That's 747s.
A lot of 747s.
It was so, I must have seen 15 747s that morning.
12, 15.
Nonstop. And it's I think that's Lufthansa's main hub.
Yeah.
And so, and I think
to be.
They fly more 747s than any other airline in the world. And so it was spectacular seeing planes that big landing right next to a 395 and a whole construction operation.
And taking off too. Yeah, that's cool.
So that was a really cool morning. Yeah. Airport work, it's cool, but it's way cooler with airplanes. And you don't always get airplanes because sometimes you're off in this corner or this whole area is shut down, but the airplanes were right there.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one. So that was a cool visit. That afternoon, we saw the RWE mine.
Yeah.
Which was very cool.
The baggers.
Yeah, the baggers, the biggest earth-moving, I think not only earth-moving machines, but mobile machines in the world.
Yeah. And they had like a viewing overlook with a bar and a restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, a restaurant bar overlooking the coal mine.
Yeah.
And you could see it really well.
There's actually quite we probably were people who don't know, Europeans eat dinner very late. We figured that out.
It's sick.
And so we were probably there at like 5, which is like, maybe kind of dinner time in the US, but for them it's not dinner time, and there was still a lot of people there.
Well, and it's Germany, so everybody's drinking beer.
Yeah.
Lots of beer consumption.
Yeah.
And you could just watch the baggers work.
Yep.
Which was very, very cool. If that was a mine in the United States, they would be signs with their middle finger up to anybody, big berm, trees, everything, go fuck yourself. It would be very, very unaccommodating. But RWE is smart enough to say, why don't we show off what we're doing and try to help the public understand how important this
information signs.
Information signs. They had a part of a bucket wheel that they had salvaged up as a display. It was really
cool.
nice. Yeah, really well done. So then we stayed in that night in Dusseldorf. We had air conditioning that night.
Yes, I shut down the German power grid that night.
we had to call RWE and tell them to ramp up production because we all got no room.
Because Jack and Aaron were staying. TJ's fine. He likes his anal incubator.
TJ's a wizard, but we had it as low as it went. That was the best sleep I got in the trip, I think.
Yeah.
And that the next day was the only day we got rained out.
Yeah.
So we were with I should have
Hagedorn.
Yeah, Hagedorn, but Masson.
Yeah.
Masson, which is a Hagedorn subsidiary. So we saw the Zeppelin branch. We went to see an earthwork project. Totally rained out, but they were running anyway just for us.
Yeah.
And we felt so bad because it was just a mess.
Like, man, when people do that, like, we appreciate it. We're like, we really do, but you don't have to do that.
You don't have to get tractor stuck.
Wreck your shit for us. Like,
no. So they were sports about it though. We saw that operation, and then we unexpectedly went to a chromium smelter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To go see a 992 from the 80s, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like an 82, 83 Caterpillar 992 that they had bought brand new.
Yeah.
And now it has well over 100,000 hours on it. And they haven't done anything to it. Never rebuilt it. Nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
And if you want to tell me, and they far prefer it over new machines, what else can you do that with? Like today's machines?
No.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Those C model or whatever it was, B model, or I don't even know. Might have been, no, it wasn't C. It might have been B. But it was an old dinosaur that they are still in love with. And then this German guy starts taking us around all these different, basically like old shops and warehouses all over this plant. It was an old plant. And in every one, he'd open the door, another antique loader that they still run. Yep. Another antique backhoe that they still run. Oh, I love this machine. Oh, I love this machine. I was running this one yesterday. He was just showing us all their old stuff. So that was cool. Then we flew from Dusseldorf to Copenhagen, where we spent the weekend.
Yep.
One of my favorite cities I've been to.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
Copenhagen was really cool.
By a mile. Yes.
I was like I don't know, just whenever, like, before going on the trip, whenever you think of, like, if someone were to ask me, like, what European cities do you want to visit? I never would have thought to even think of, say, Copenhagen.
No, but there's been a lot of hype about Denmark being, like, one of the happiest countries in the world, so on and so forth. And I was like, yeah, all right, it's probably just another place. You go there, though, you're like, I get it. This is actually pretty fucking good here. If it weren't for the rain all the time, I would totally understand.
Yeah.
So we spent the weekend in Copenhagen, then drove over the bridge to Sweden real quick.
To get lunch, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize Sweden was so close.
Because
why not? And then we drove back through Copenhagen about 2 hours to the very bottom for the next project, which was the one I was probably most excited about for this trip.
Yeah, that one was insane.
So we went to see the Femern Belt Tunnel project. And I don't even know how I originally found out about it. I think Lars, who we were with the second day, DM'd me on Instagram and said, hey, you got to come out and see this project. So I started researching it. I got in touch with the people for the project ownership, and they set us up with a phenomenal tour. And so it's this gap between Denmark and Germany. So right now, traffic and cargo has to go all the way up and around through Germany, around in Denmark. It's a really long route to get over to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
But if you look at it on a map, if you just bridge this gap here between the two countries, it would be way faster. And so
I think he said like a 500-kilometer difference
500, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, it's huge,
in
huge
travel
difference.
time.
So right now there's a ferry going back and forth nonstop, but it's expensive. It's slow.
The ferry company's pissed.
Yeah, the ferry company's not happy about the tunnel. But this tunnel, it's about 20 kilometers, maybe 19 kilometers.
Yeah.
And they need it to be 5 tunnels because you have traffic both ways, and then you have rail traffic both ways, and then you have a service tunnel. So they looked at boring machines, too expensive. They looked at a bridge, uneconomical as well because of the soil conditions, because of the wind, because of the size, just wasn't possible. So that they then chose option C, which is a submerged tube tunnel.
Yep.
And the longest tube tunnel until this point has been 6 kilometers, I believe. This one is 19. So this is something that has never been done in the world. And what it is essentially a dredging contractor or contractors come in, they dig a trench across the seafloor, and then they build these tunnel segments. I think over 80 segments, roughly 80 segments. I think almost 90 segments.
Yeah,
I think 78 normal
what are
standard.
The individual, what do they call those?
The elements.
9 segments
to an element.
to one element.
Yeah, so they build almost 90 of these elements. A standard element is 72,000 tons.
Yeah.
So these are monster pieces of concrete. They then have this system in which they roll it out on rail into this lock. They flood it, then it floats because they've capped off both ends,
Mm-hmm.
and then they bring it out to sea. They lower the water, so now it's in the deep end of this lock. They drag it out into this harbor.
Yep.
They add more weight to it so it doesn't float as much. They float too well.
Yeah.
And then they drag them out and sink them in the middle of the ocean,
Yep.
in this trench with like a 5 millimeter tolerance per each element.
And then
And they connect them all together, and there you go.
Pump
You've
out the
got a
water.
tunnel.
Yeah.
You pump out the water. You build your tunnel inside of these elements, and it's that easy.
so it was incredible to see. It was such a, like, the very root of it is very simple, such a simple process,
Yeah.
but just the sheer size of these, like, and when we were there, they haven't placed any yet. So they had the first 2 segments.
Yeah.
Not elements, segments. There's 9 segments that go into one element, which is what, 217 meters? Is that what he said?
Yeah, almost 220 meters long.
And these segments are just absolutely just massive. Like, they're almost like the size of something you can compare it to is like a standard bridge that crosses the interstate in the U.S.
Yeah.
but burlier because it's a tunnel, not a bridge.
Yeah.
But like size wise, that's about how big one segment is, and then there's 9 of those that go into it.
They're the biggest pieces of engineered concrete I've ever seen.
Yeah, and they pour them in one go.
Yes. Yeah. And they built a $1 billion factory on the coast specifically just to build these elements.
Yeah.
And so he kept saying, the guy we were with, and I'll just say that I have never been so accommodated at a big mega project before.
Yeah, that was amazing.
They were so cool.
Yeah.
So that was one of the best visits to a mega project I've seen. And I, frankly, don't enjoy mega projects all that much because
a lot of red tape.
It's such a pain in the ass, and I kind of get it, but
yeah,
it's almost like they go out of the way to be a pain in the ass sometimes. This though was they were so open, so facilitating. We'll share everything with you. We just want to get the word out about. We're just happy you're here. We want to educate people. But it's I just lost my train of thought. But $1 billion factory.
Yeah.
Just to build these elements, and he kept saying that the construction isn't really the complicated part. It's the logistics of it.
Yeah.
How do we get all of the aggregate, all of the cement, all of the steel?
Yeah.
How do we actually build these elements like the manufacturing side of this it's more of a manufacturing and logistics project than it is a construction project.
Yeah, that's why it's so cool. Once they're made and ready to go, all you got to do now is just pull them out with tugboats and sink them in the right spot.
Yeah.
But like the actual, which is obviously a lot more complicated, but the actual, like you're saying, the manufacturing, like I think that after visiting that whole site, one of the most impressive things for me is when we got to walk inside the rebar skeleton of one of those things. The rebar is so thick that you can't see it through it, like past like 4 inches.
No.
Because there's so many layers. And and the guy was talking about like how people have like tunnel phobia. I'm like, dude, just send him a picture of this. You say, look how much rebar is in this tunnel. You got nothing to worry about. No. I have never seen so much in one piece. And then there's like those rebar skeletons in like in like a U shape. And then they slide them into the pouring facility. And then they have like 6 full-size concrete pumps like mounted along. And then they just pour it.
They pour nonstop until it's done.
Yeah,
and it'll be
like 24 hours.
Yeah, at least over a day of pouring.
Straight pouring.
Yeah,
to fill it.
Yep. And it's all indoors because it has to cure.
Yep.
Every segment has to cure in the same way.
Yeah.
To make it work.
Yeah.
And then every element is built specifically for where it'll be in the tunnel because the water gets deeper and deeper and deeper as they get further out. So there's more weight on top of those elements in the middle than on the than near the shore. So then the rebar gets even more for those middle elements. It's just the whole time I was just blown away by this operation.
Yeah.
So that was amazing, and we're gonna have a hell of a video coming out of that day.
That's gonna be really good.
That'll be probably one of our best yet. I would say. Then that night and the next day, so we were with, FLC is the consortium building the tunnel, the elements and building the tunnel. FBC is the consortium between Van Oord and Boskalis, the 2 biggest marine construction companies in the world, on the dredging. So then we were with FBC on the dredging side to tour that operation, which I was really looking forward to as well.
That one was really cool.
So we went out on the boat that night and we got to see it's a 24-hour operation.
Yeah.
So we got to see they fired up the 6015 triple boom for us.
That thing is insane.
Really cool. It's a normal 6015 is a 150-ton machine. This is a 250-ton machine.
Yeah.
That's how much weight they've added to this thing.
Yeah.
So they fired that up for us, just for us, so we get some pictures, which
is always fun because he's
always
just
fun.
Fucking around and he's like, hey, can you make a splash? He gets on the radio, like, make a splash, and you just and this. How tall do you think that boom is at like full height? Because like he picks up a full bucket of water and brings it up as far as he can, which is at least 100 feet, 150 feet up in the air.
Yeah,
and then drops it around.
And we're shooting this while on a boat. Yeah, we're out in the ocean while he's like looking at the shore.
Yeah,
and then we go see some rock work with one of the 390s, big claw. That was cool. So then we met one of the guys I've followed on Instagram forever, which was cool.
Yep.
Then we sleep and then we come back and we see more of the operation the next day.
Yeah.
They created all this new land because they had to dredge this channel and then place the material somewhere.
Yeah.
So we got to see that. They had some crazy cool machines. They had a pyramid pad dozer. They had a super LGP D6 with the widest track pads I will ever see in my life. They had LGP articulated trucks.
Yeah, with the big fat tires.
I got stuck in the mud.
That was funny.
Pretty bad. That was the worst I've ever been stuck.
I think you would have died if you were by yourself.
There's no way I would have got out of that on my own.
It took two full-grown men to pull you out of the mud.
Yeah. But the crazy thing was, around me, the guys getting me out were standing right where I was standing. I just stepped in the one spot.
It was quite literally like a 4-inch square spot. That was just
and it looked solid. And then you just sink right in like
and
that.
And you sank like it wasn't like, oh shit, I'm sinking. It was like instantaneous. Like you
past
stepped
my
in
knees.
a puddle of water.
And then we saw their triple boom 390s,
Yep.
395s,
Yep.
which I've always wanted to see. We got to see their 6015 up close.
Mm-hmm.
They lined up 4 dozers for us. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna line up a bunch of dozers for you guys and do a push. And they were stoked to have us there and to show up a little bit.
That shit's always fun. I love that.
I love it when guys are into it because then we can do cooler shit when they're into it.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then the most random part of the day was Tony Beats' brother from Gold Rush works for Van Tunen. Yeah. So we got to meet him. And he's the mastermind behind these triple booms. So he took us through the machines, which was cool.
Yeah. He was cool. He was like what I expected him to look like.
Yeah,
like
super Dutch guy,
super down to earth, like one of the super nice, like awesome dude, but like seen some shit, like missing a finger, 3-foot long beard, and they all the dudes out there, they don't smoke cigarettes. They just have their own hand tobacco and just roll up.
I'm almost I've like legitimately thought about that. I kind of want to do it, but I think would it be hard to find in the States?
No, bro. You can get it at the gas station.
You get it anywhere? Yeah. But is it shittier? I feel like it's better there.
It's probably, I mean, the stuff you buy at the gas station is probably not that good. But like, if you probably go to like a cigar shop, you can probably actually get real good stuff.
Yeah, they all roll their own cigarettes, which I think it's just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
like it's so they just take the paper out and they're so casual about it and they're just smoking their cigarette. So that was Denmark.
Yeah.
Then we go back up. We have a travel day and we fly over to London. Right?
Yeah.
London. Then we drive a few hours from London to go spend a day with Brown and Mason, which was another company I've wanted to see for since high school. And Boskalis is one that I've wanted to see since high school. Yeah. Van Ord is one I've watched for a long time. Brown and Mason. You've probably seen the videos of some of these smokestack demolitions, these explosive demolitions. They've gone all over the internet. It's probably Brown and Mason that have done them.
Yeah.
And we got to see 2 power plant projects.
Yeah.
That were giant.
That was another one that we didn't really know a whole lot going in, how it was going to be, and it was phenomenal.
So cool.
Yeah.
And they let us go everywhere. And we're just very accommodating. First power plant was not yet all that much demolished.
Yeah.
And so they still had probably...
You said like 9 months? They were like 9 months in?
Yeah.
9-10 months in?
And it's a multi-year project to decommission these power plants. And they do a majority of the demolition, quote unquote, with explosives. But there's a ton of work they have to do to get everything ready to be imploded in the first place.
Yeah.
So... the first one was them pairing everything, and then we got to tour a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'd never been in a power plant before that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
We got to see it all.
Very COD map.
Total Call of Duty map. We went to a lot of Call of Duty maps on this trip. And then we went to the second plant, which was a lot further along.
Yeah.
And that had most everything demolished. And so they were sitting there and processing a lot of it.
Yeah.
They fired up their real big machine to tear down a water tank for us.
Which is cool.
And then I think the absolute highlight of that day.
Yeah, I know. I already know. Yeah.
Was they had 8 cooling towers, or maybe 9 cooling towers. These giant cooling towers next to the plant that they hadn't imploded yet. And they're like, we're going to go into a cooling tower. So you look at them and they look pretty big from the outside. They're
it's a chimney.
Yeah. It's a chimney.
It's a big chimney.
You walk up the stairs a little ways, a few flights of stairs to get to the door that's in the side of them.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go through the door, that is one of the most surreal things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm speechless.
Just absolutely speechless. And I have not been speechless too many times.
Yeah.
That was one of those times.
That's like I was saying, the last time I was speechless like that is when we went to see Petra.
We went to see one of the ancient wonders of the world. Yeah.
Like that was the last time I remember, because like you said, you walked through that door and I was just like, oh,
whoa.
like same reaction I had when I saw Petra. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my! Except Petra's lasted a little bit longer because I remember like we stood there like stared at Petra for like 20 minutes and like we're just like in awe.
There's a little more to it,
obviously, but this one was still just, you never think of to like what it would be like to go inside of it.
No.
And like the actual inside would like look like out of like a Chernobyl movie. Because like
I kept thinking James Bond villain.
Yeah. Or just it has, the inside of it is basically a cross of two long catwalks.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're just getting hit with steam 24/7,
yeah,
they're like rusted away like an old like I'm talking rusted like away.
Well, I think if you or TJ, you touch the railing and half the railing dissolves.
Yeah, he was like, kick the railing. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, kick it. And I can't kick the railing, and like literally half of it falls to the ground.
It goes to half the size.
And the echo in there was cool. And they showed the video of the guy playing guitar in there, which is like one of the first things I thought of. Like,
so that was definitely a highlight.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked to them about hopefully timing another visit next year to see all of the cooling towers get imploded.
Yeah, because they're going to do them all at once.
Yes. And I talked to one of the guys that does the explosives work while I was there. I had so many questions for him. I was so curious. How do you implode a cooling tower?
Yeah.
And just the planning and engineering behind imploding these is
it's not just
phenomenal.
Blowing shit up.
No. So I hope we can time that, because that'll be probably one of the more spectacular things we ever film.
Yeah, I think so.
So that was cool. Then next day we were with Collins, thanks to Awesome Earth Movers.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in a delightful little town.
That was the
postcard Britain farm country.
My mom told me that's where Mr. Darcy was from.
Yes.
I'm blanking on the name.
Downton Abbey. Yeah, for any of you Downton Abbey folks, this is
it was apparently from where he was from.
Okay,
and it was, and like you said, like because like it was a nice little town, and we stayed in like a small hotel that like they didn't even have numbers on the rooms; they just had their own name.
Well, we checked in at the bar.
Check in at the bar downstairs, and the food was actually good.
The food was really good.
And then on the way out the next morning, it's like a nice, it was like probably like 6:30 in the morning. It's like fog across the fields, and there's sheep everywhere.
All over the roads.
It's like postcard Britain.
yeah, that was cool. And then the day with Collins, we saw a quarry.
Yeah.
And then we went to a scraper operation. They were stripping topsoil 637s, which is very rare in Europe. 637 scrapers. So shout out to Awesome Earth Movers for setting that up. What was I going to say on that one too? But then we wrapped up a little early there. And, while we were making our way back to London, we stopped at Jeremy Clarkson's farm.
Very quick stop.
And the Diddly Squat farm shop.
Yeah.
For what we hoped to be some lunch. Not even a chance.
At least I got to pee there.
I peed at Jeremy Clarkson's farm.
Yeah.
We saw the farm shop that, if you've seen Clarkson's farm on Amazon, you know the drama about the farm shop. I've been to the farm shop now, but there must have been 500 people there.
Oh, easily.
At least.
Easily.
All in line for the burger stand.
Yeah.
All in line for the burger stand. And the line must have been, we were there at like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And they closed at like 5. If we had gotten in line, zero chance. Zero chance we would have been.
For a burger.
Yeah. But I've never seen anything like that busy. Yeah. It was insane.
That was nuts.
So we tried. Then I guess what I was going to say too was driving in Britain, horrible. A horrible time. Because they don't build their roads.
They just don't update their roads.
No, so a lot of the roads are not 2 lanes.
No.
Like most of them are 1 lane, but it'll be like a major country road with a lot of traffic. And so I got so close to so many trucks, so many cars. You're pulling off the road nonstop. It is so tight, so snug. You're driving on the other side of the road. You're on the other side of the car. It's horrible. It was horrible.
And they always have like 10-foot tall hedges around the entire road. So
Yep. Every corner is blind.
corner is a blind corner.
So that was an experience. We went to London.
Yep.
Got to see London. London is London.
Yep.
It was just about exactly as I had expected.
New York City of Britain.
Yeah, I don't. If I go back, cool. If I don't go back,
yeah,
cool. It was cool to see once.
Yeah.
Check the box. I would love to go back to England. I thought England was delightful, but yeah, London, big city.
Yeah.
I feel like it's people, coming to New York City. Like you see it once, you're like, all right, I don't need to do that again. And if you're foreign listening to this and you haven't been to America yet, and you haven't been to New York City, you don't have to go to New York City.
Don't go to New York City.
Don't go to Chicago.
Don't go to LA. Don't go to Chicago.
San Francisco.
Don't go to San Francisco.
Las Vegas.
Vegas,
maybe. Yeah.
Because if you're specifically going there to gamble and party, then
I get it.
Yeah, you can have a good time in
but
Vegas.
Don't judge the United States based on those cities.
No, they are the worst.
Please.
They are the worst cities in this country.
So we fly then from London to Barcelona.
Yep.
For the last leg of the journey.
Last leg.
And my friend, Heavy Machinery, right?
Yeah.
I get him and Hugo mixed up.
Yeah,
Hugo is big _ machinery. Zavi is Heavy Machinery on Instagram. I coincidentally met him on a job site in Dubai in December.
Yeah.
And I talked to him and he said, come out to Spain and I'll show you some machinery. And that's all you got to say, man. So he was one of my first messages when I was planning this trip. I gave him 2 days. He said, just leave it to me. So we stayed in Barcelona. I thought Barcelona was great.
Yeah.
Big fan of Barcelona.
Oh, yeah.
And over the next 2 days, we saw 8 companies.
A lot.
Oh, just nonstop. This guy knows everybody with a tractor in Spain, I think. It was, and he picks us up in this little Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, hatchback.
And then he just gives us the hatchback and gets in his car. His wife came with us both days.
Yeah,
just hung out with us. And so we were just driving around Spain in the hatchback, following this guy around different job sites every day.
Absolutely beautiful Defender.
Absolutely gorgeous Defender. But I think the highlight, the machines were amazing. An amazing variety of work, of machinery, Liebherr high reach, Volvo 950, Volvo 750 demolition machine, the recycling plant with Hercal. Shoot, there was just so much going on. But I think the highlight of that was at the end of our first day. We had driven almost to France and we were somewhat close to the coast. And he asked, hey, do you just want to go back to Barcelona or do you want to go to the coast? And I was like, let's go see the coast. That was extraordinary. I had never been to the Mediterranean before. I get the Mediterranean now.
Yeah.
I get it. That's all I had to see. I totally understand it now.
That beach is great for 2 reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the women don't wear as much while on the beach.
But, it kind of cancels out because then you got 70-year-old Gramps and his tidy whities. Yeah.
But we all 3 went for a swim in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I didn't even plan on it. And it was like, and it wasn't, and we went down, it wasn't like sand. They had a sandy beach section, but it was like rocks and just what you would picture like the southern France, Spanish coast to look like.
Yeah.
And we were just done for the day. We didn't plan on going to the beach or anything. So we're all in work clothes. I got down to the edge and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to come all the way down here and not get in.
No.
No. And I'm glad I did because and then as soon as I got in, the first thing I thought of is like, I really want to snorkel right now. Cause I look down through the water and the water is like, people joke about like how it's like, oh, everywhere else is such blue water. Well, it is. And,
gorgeous.
It's not a lie. It's blue and it's clear. And even just looking down through the top of the water, you can kind of see, I'm like, oh dude, if I had snorkel and goggles, I could be out for 3 hours.
Yeah. I found like a little tide pool. So I was harassing sea urchins.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted to snorkel so bad.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And then we went and found a restaurant just on the beach.
Yeah, which is a little hard to do at 7 p.m. apparently.
Yeah. Eating at 7 p.m. is
We were the first ones there.
is completely ridiculous. That's just we were the first ones in the restaurant at 7 p.m. Maybe even like 7:30. And we had some paella.
Yeah, which I'd never had it before, and I had no idea what to expect. But the best thing I can compare it to is it's like Spanish jambalaya.
Yeah,
with like rice, like different types of meat. And like they used obviously different seasoning, and like they had like seafood on top of it, but man, it was good,
dude. I think that's the meal I've still been thinking about.
Oh, dude, if you put that paella dish in front of me right now, I could finish it easy, and it's like a big plate.
I've had a few meals traveling that I think about repeatedly. That's definitely one of them, because that
one was really good.
Oh, that was so good. So then we went back to Barcelona, and that was that.
Yeah. Well, no, that wasn't. We had the second day. You're forgetting about the second day.
Yeah. Well, I kind of included the second day in there too, but 2 days of nonstop, just nonstop, go, see all kinds of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen that variety of equipment and companies in the span of 2 days.
And then the very last site we're at, the quarry, like.
We went to the quarry.
Yeah.
Oh,
overlooked.
I forgot about that.
Overlooked the sea, and it was off. I'm not from California. What's it called?
What?
The road, the famous
Highway 1?
No, that goes along the coast.
Yeah, Highway 1.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like that.
Pacific Coast Highway, PCH.
PCH.
Thinking of.
Yeah, it looked like the PCH in Spain, and then like you're going along, the left is just ocean, and you're on these crazy, beautiful cliffs, and then you just swing right into the quarry. And then like the way they had it set up though was really cool, because the whole like crushing and sorting part of it was like built into the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like multi-leveled. It wasn't just one giant flat area.
Yeah, and you drive up, and then we
a steep road too. Like it was
real steep,
way up there.
And we're in the Mercedes AMG, driving around the quarry, which was quite funny. And then we were checking out a 374. I got some. Now that you say that, I forgot we even went there. The pictures, I think, are going to be insane, because I did the zoom with the drone.
The ocean in the back.
So I got the 374 Mediterranean sailboats in the background. Yeah. TJ decided to bin the drone. Last sight. 7 countries?
Probably we had like an hour left.
Yeah, an hour left, not a single drama the entire time. All of our equipment was good. Everything was good. No problems. Just bins the drone right into the bucket of the 374.
And it explodes.
Yes.
It didn't fully explode, but because I was getting gimbal shots, and I let go to my left. I'm like, oh, shit.
But fortunately, the drone was recording while he did it.
Yeah.
I was recording the recovery effort with my drone.
Yeah.
Which we won't get into detail about. And then Zabi, he has a recording of the bucket actually slapping the drone out of the air.
Yeah.
So another one
down. It's that tally.
Did you keep the drone?
I still have it.
You still have it? We need to put it up in the...
Yeah, I didn't think we're going to send it back.
Yeah. We need to put it up on the shelf, because the camera is just hanging off.
Yeah.
All sad.
I actually looked at it, and the only thing that's really broken on it is one arm and the plastic piece that holds the gimbal on.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't...
Because the wires connected to the camera are
it looked fine.
Completely intact.
It looks worse than it is, because the camera's just hanging by a wire. But I don't know. I mean, the whole gimbal's probably screwed up, though.
Yeah, probably.
It probably wouldn't. I don't think it would do all that well.
No.
But
the battery survived.
Those
batteries are damn expensive, so I'm glad the battery survived.
Well, it's not the first drone we've destroyed. It won't be the last. So that is the end of our, I guess, 2024 Europe excursion recap.
Yeah. Great trip.
Any closing thoughts?
To anybody in Europe listening to this, please consider getting your. It's quite a good invention.
It's one of
I know your summers don't get hot like they do here, but you've got a building that gets baked in the sun all day. regardless if it's 70 degrees outside, it's going to be a little warm.
I don't, dude.
Yeah.
I just
You see a simple little AC unit and you'll have the best sleep of your life.
I got home like you did. Just lower the AC. I turned it down to 64. I was just.
I told you
I
have my routine. I mean, every time I get back from the international trips, I go home, I take all my bags off, I crack open a Coors Light because I probably haven't had one in multiple weeks, and in this instance, I turn the freaking AC on.
Oh, yes.
And then I watch. And then the other thing is whenever I try to watch a show and it's like geography locked, geo locked, because there's certain shows that like you can't watch in other countries.
Yeah, you need a VPN if you want to watch stuff from the States. Yeah,
I do all my catching up.
Yeah. Understood. Well, cool. Well, everybody, stay tuned for all of the videos and photos coming out of this trip. I haven't shared much really because I haven't been able to edit much yet. I haven't had the time. But
got a lot
over the coming months. I mean, we'll be releasing these videos for the rest of the year. Essentially, we got so much stuff,
and we've still got a handful of domestic
stuff
that we're doing.
A lot of stuff, a lot of stuff in the works. But stay tuned. We're gonna have videos on everything we just explained.
Yep,
and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, thanks for listening, and we will see you all on the next one.
And we'll probably have TJ here for the next one, maybe.
We'll have TJ for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's moving to Nashville this week. Oh, yeah.